Well, hello and welcome to a surprising car reveal video. We weren't necessarily anticipating making this video, but we got an offer we could not resist, so we're running with it. So before I reveal what our steed for Festival of the Unexceptional is going to be, and it is very, very unexceptional, a bit of backstory. So just before we went on holiday, we came down to Miss Hubnut's parents because they're doing the dog sitting for us. And they said, we're going to check out a car. Would you be able to come and assist? So we did. We went and assisted the purchase. Myself and Minnie Hubnut went to check over the car. It seemed to be everything they hoped for in a car. So they bought it. And then we went on holiday. Then we came back from holiday and we were wondering, it was just like, we haven't got time to film the car. But then we got a very kind offer. Would you like to use the new steed for the Festival of the Unexceptional? Because I'd already said that is a perfect Festival of the Unexceptional car. So naturally we said yes. We're about 3 odd hours away, so hopefully it's something, you know, big, comfortable. Not ever so much, no. So yeah, in a moment I will reveal it. But just before we get into that, this is a premiere. So if you're lucky enough to be watching the premiere, do go and join in the chat that's buzzing away somewhere on the left hand side here. Drop your guesses in. What do you think the car is? Any clues? I'll give you some clues. I passed my test in one of these on the 14th of August 1995. It's the exact same spec. It's slightly newer. This is a 1997, so that probably gives you a pretty good inkling of what it is. So yeah, let's go and get this done, shall we? Let's reveal the car. Yes, it's a Vauxhall Corsa B. I've been wanting to get one of these on the channel for a very long time. Like I say, passed my driving test in one, and this is the first time I've driven one. When we actually went to pick it up, it's the first time I've driven one since passing my test in 1995. It is a 1.2 Merit. The Merit is the base model. The earlier versions of this type, you could get them as a pure base that had no rear wiper even. But by the time this facelift one came out, in I think it was 1997, the age of this one, they had a rear wiper as standard on the Merit here. So not exactly big and luxurious. Maybe it's got a big and luxurious engine. No, this has the 1.2 overhead cam engine developing 44 brake horsepower. And we've got to drive it for many hours today. But still, it is an absolute wallow in nostalgia for me. Let's have a look under the bonnet of this example. It has done 57,000 miles. It is in beautiful condition. It's not mint by any stretch, but it has been treated fairly lightly over the years, I'm going to say. And if you come and have a look, here is the old, I think it's the Family 1 engine. So it's a single overhead camshaft, 8 valves. It still looks very much like an engine. By this stage, in 1997, you could get the 1 litre 3-cylinder of the next generation. And I think the 1.4 had also been upgraded, but not this one. It was still the bog standard old engine, albeit with, you know, a full electronic ignition and fuel injection. But yeah, 44 brake horsepower is not ever so much. But yeah, lovely car to work on because everything is just there. It has a timing belt, but it must be an absolute cinch to change, which is good times. It has been cleaned up by the previous owners. All the strut tops have been cleaned, but yeah, really, really nice. Just little bits of surface rust around. Really rather pleasant condition. So jumping aboard is a proper nostalgia trip for me because I would have clambered aboard one of these as a very excited 17-year-old on my 17th birthday back in 1995, and it all feels so very familiar, so very basic. We've got, you know, keep fit windows, we've got manual steering, no airbag, just this rather stylish, I think, 2-spoke steering wheel. The same indicator stalks you'll find in some TVRs. Very common across the Vauxhall range. And I will just quickly say, this is a Vauxhall to UK folk. Obviously elsewhere in Europe and indeed in South America, this is an Opel. But while it was an Opel designed car, here in the UK, for some reason, Vauxhall is the brand. So I apologise for not saying Opel. I will be talking Vauxhall throughout. But rather firm seat. I fear some of the padding is disintegrating on this seat, and the gear lever scrotum, if you like, is in rather poor condition, as they always are, and it's a bit of a baggy old gear change as well. Not really ideal for a first-time driver, but nonetheless I managed to cope and pass my test in one. We've got a radio, no cassette, just an auto store stereo, highlighting the poverty here, as well as the fact there's no central locking, no sunroof, there's just nothing at all really. But you know, you've got 4-speed fan, you pull that out to operate the heated rear window, and you can obviously change it to recirculate. The controls actually have quite a nice feel to them compared to something like, say, a Fiat Punto. Do the indicator test. A nice proper indicator noise. The light control is over here. We have got electronic headlamp leveling and a fog light, and that kind of concludes our look at the buttons. Here on the passenger side, no glove box, but we have got an open shelf which has the service location guide that always used to come with cars, and we've got the original owner pack, which I'm not going to open because it's got some of the security info in it, but we've still got the original owner's manual and everything. That is lovely to have. An extra tray down there, but obviously these times are pre-cup holder, so they're on none. Mild tea shelfery perhaps just there. Rest your tea there, but yeah, don't do that while driving along. I'm reminded that you turn the interior light on by pulling the exterior lamp switch. That was a very much Vauxhall Opel feature at the time. Just quickly talk about nomenclature, because this is a Corsa B, but it's the first Corsa we got in the UK. The first generation we got as the Vauxhall Nova. General Motors raided their American heritage to steal the Nova name for the small boxy European car, and it's interesting that both the Nova and the K10 Micra are very boxy, very straight line driven, but the K11 Micra that came out a year before this, and obviously this car launched in 1993, just embraced curves. The styling is just complete curvature, and I really like that. We'll have a quick look in the boot, which is mostly full of our junk because we're going away for several days, and that will conclude our initial tour, I think.
What about the back seat?
I never did this on my driving lessons. I will just say the seat belts clip very nicely to the back seat. That was another neat feature. I think they also did that on the Mark III Cavalier. But even with a seat set for me, I've actually got plenty of knee room, just about enough headroom, and the seat feels fairly supportive. There is nothing for me to play with. The rear windows don't open, there are no ashtrays back here at all. I think part of the Merit spec means you don't get any centre console trim down here in the middle. Just carpet, bare carpet. Does look like seatbelt pretensioners though, so that's something.
Lovely spot here too, yeah?
And there's a lovely feature here I want to show as well. It is the clunk clip. Very common to have these fitted. I think actually we've got adjustable, yeah we have, we've got adjustable height on the seatbelt. That's quite advanced. But the clunk clip, you put your seatbelt on. If it's too tight, you just pull it a little bit and you lock that, and it holds the tension, but it doesn't stop it working as a seatbelt when you need it. So a very common sort of 1980s, 1990s accessory there. That's great to see. Right, let's have a look in the boot. Okay then, in we go. And it's actually quite a deep boot. You see, we've got all our stuff in, but it doesn't really come above the height of this lip. And yet I think there is a full-size spare, yeah there is, we can just see it, full-size spare wheel under there as well. So loads of space back here. Oh, this is lovely. Come in and look at this. I think on higher spec models that would be an interior light here in the boot, but because it's a Merit, it's a little blanking plug. So this really is a case of blanking plugs ahoy. Right, we're going to get moving before the seagulls start getting offensive. They're loitering menacingly over there. Check we're in neutral. That's that classic sort of Vauxhall soundtrack, familiar from all the 80s and 90s Vauxhalls. It's quite a nice engine. I think it sounds quite sporty, even though it's only 44 brake horsepower. Windscreen wiper test must be conducted. And there we go. Unfortunately, we have got a triangle of doom. Very tiny one. Oh, that time it overlapped and didn't. But if you put them on fast, then you get good overlap. No triangle of doom. It is leaving this pillar a little uneven, I think. Should we do a rear wiper test? I think we probably should. So rear wiper And one annoyance here is you can't have it going permanently, and if you wash it, it doesn't do a program wash wipe. So you just have to leave it on and wait for the intermittent. And you can't turn it off and back on again to try and jump it. It just takes as long as it takes. But a good wiping performance. And interestingly, the Corsa B had two different body shells. So if you had a 5-door one, the roof line was higher, it had a straighter back and a smaller rear wiper. There's a fun fact for you. Right, we should get underway. It's quite a long travel on the clutch pedal, very, very Germanic. But as we get underway, it just brings back so many memories. The steering, as soon as you're moving, you don't really notice it isn't power steering anymore. Once you've managed to escape the horrors of the supermarket car park, this really is a very well-mannered little car. It's very joyous to drive and feels like it's got more than its feeble power. Probably because it only weighs 870 kilograms, which is not very much. Yes, it makes pleasing noises and makes pleasing progress. You wouldn't describe it as rapid, but yeah, it is pleasant. Lotus was involved with these facelift versions. Apparently they tweaked up the steering a bit, but to be honest, with the manual steering, it always feels a little under-geared. They've geared it for lightness around town, so you're always having to put in more input than you really feel you should. I don't remember that being a problem when I was 17, but then I hadn't really driven anything else at that time. But we've got a long way to go in this car, so this is going to be a sort of a multi-stage report. But we're just coming up to some dual carriageways to give us a chance to unleash the full 44 horsepower. Now it's uphill, bit unfair on the little car. Oh, lovely W108 Mercedes there. We're closing in on 60 miles an hour. We're in the south of England, so there's loads of traffic, making my life quite difficult trying to accelerate up to the motorway speed limit. Yeah, it's no flying machine, but nonetheless, I guess it does a reasonable job of getting down the road. And now we're up to 70 miles an hour, and while the engine's spinning quite high, I don't know how high, far too poverty to have a rev counter, it's actually quite smooth. And I don't think we're going to struggle today zipping up the motorways on our way initially to Peterborough. Yeah, lovely Mercedes, a 250 SE. Nice. I will say there is some road noise, but I think it is actually more peaceful at these speeds than out Belinga. That's quite a noisy thing. There's a lot of road and wind noise. Yeah, visibility is good because the glass area is so large, and while I'm sure that compromises crash protection, yeah, it is nice to actually be able to see where you're going and try and avoid people because you can see them. Of course, to be honest, always felt like it was slightly lagging behind. I think the Fiestas had moved ahead by this stage, albeit I think the interior is more pleasant in the Corsa. I think the Fiestas did have some rather nasty plastics going on inside, but they had some zingier engines, slightly better spec and better handling, I think, ultimately. This is not bad, but the Corsas were never the sharpest in their class. That's against some very tough competition. But yeah, this just feels like the perfect car for Festival of the Unexceptionals. That's why we've made the controversial decision not to take one of our own cars. To be honest, I think our cars are struggling slightly to fit the bill. If we had a Citroen Zara instead of a GSA, I think we would have the perfect car. It'll be us for the next few hours. So I think what we'll do is report in a bit later on to see how we feel after quite a lot of dual carriageway and motorway miles. Well, it's been a horrible journey. We've been travelling for some hours now. We've done 125 miles since filling up, and there has been an awful lot of this. But it is a reminder at just how pleasant the Corsa is to drive at slow speeds. It just bimbles along quite merrily. It's a very tractable engine. So we've been as low as 25 mile an hour in fifth in some of the queues, and it's very happy. It's just a jolly little car, really.
Yeah, we should just clarify, it's nothing to do with the car. The car's been fantastic.
The journey has just been horrendous.
It's been horrific.
Yes. Probably can't hear me, so she's not mic'd up, but yeah, it hasn't been the best. Yeah, lovely little car, and now we're just looking forward to getting to the show tomorrow, Festival of the Unexceptional. So we shall find somewhere eventually to wrap this one up. Boy, well, I am shattered, but this little car has done very, very well indeed. It probably hasn't had such a long run for a very long time, but yeah, very, very pleasant. Little cramped in the driving position, I'm going to say, but then I do seem to have unusually long legs. But yeah, all the excitement of the show to wait tomorrow. So if you're going to Festival of the Unexceptional, we shall see you there. If you're looking for fleet members, you won't see them. You will only see this little car. But a reminder, we're on the stage at 10:30. I have checked. 10:30 in the morning, YouTuber panel. Some of us having a bit of a chat. Should be good fun. And yeah, if you're still watching the premiere, thank you very much for joining in the live chat. And if you're just watching it later, well, thank you very much for watching. But yeah, we'll cover this car in more detail perhaps on the journey home. But we shall see you soon. Bye. Don't show the bit that's peeling off.